They said a full moon on Halloween was just superstition, a myth the old folks used to scare their children. But myths don't die. They wait. Every 100 years, the hollow moon returns, and when it rises red, the earth remembers what it buried. Tonight it's remembering us at whispering narratives. We don't tell stories, we survive them. Now, turn down the lights, because on this Halloween night, the moon isn't shining, it's hunting. Hollow Bend never truly sleeps. Even on quiet nights, something moves under the soil. Old things, older than the town, whispering in the roots. The locals laugh it off, of course. They hang paper ghosts on their porches, carve pumpkins with crooked grins, and tell their children not to wander past the creek after sunset. But on this Halloween, even the laughter sounds uneasy. The moon is already up, rising too fast, too red, too close. Main Street glows orange beneath strings of flickering bulbs. The annual Harvest Festival crowds every block, cider steam, fried dough, and plastic masks gleaming in the cold. The air tastes of sugar and smoke. Yet beneath the chatter and the carnival music hums something low, almost inaudible, like a buried heartbeat. Evan Marsh feels it first. 19 years old, all restless limbs and quiet eyes. He leans against the dented hood of his truck at the forest's edge, a cigarette trembling between his fingers. He's trying to pretend the night feels normal, but it doesn't. The fog presses against his chest like weight. His phone shows no signal. His reflection in the windshield seems half a second slow. A burst of laughter breaks his trance. Mara, wild, beautiful and dangerously alive, spins near the bonfire, fake vampire cape flaring around her. She flashes him a grin, teeth glinting in the firelight. "You look like the Grim Reaper at a pep rally," she calls. Evan forces a smile. "You ever notice how the moon's bigger here?" "Bigger? You're romanticizing a rock." He points upward. "Look." She follows his gaze, and her laughter fades. The moon hangs swollen above the ridge, stained the color of blood and rust. Its light isn't silver tonight, it's crimson, as if the sky itself were bruised. The Bluetooth speaker sputters. The pop song distorts into static. Then, silence. The crowd murmurs. Someone kicks the speaker. Nothing. In the distance, every dog in Hollow Bend begins to howl at once, long, mournful, and overlapping like a choir of the damned. Mara shivers. "Weird timing," she whispers. Evan doesn't answer. He's staring at his hands, shaking now, veins standing out dark and raised. A heat rolls beneath his skin like fire trapped under glass. He tastes metal, his head swims. "I need some air," he mutters, staggering toward the creek. As he walks, the world blurs around the edges. The laughter behind him warps, stretching thin like a record played too slow. The fog thickens, silver turning to red. He hears something, a whisper, maybe his own name, carried on the wind. The voice is familiar but older, deeper, hungry. He kneels by the water, cupping cold handfuls to his face. The reflection stares back, distorted by ripples. His eyes flash gold for an instant, impossible, but there it is. The hum in his bones becomes a pulse, then a roar. He grips the dirt until his nails tear. His breath clouds heavy. Behind him the bonfire swells suddenly, flames leaping twice their height. A scream erupts from the crowd, short, sharp, real. The music dies completely. The night goes hollow. Mara pushes through the fog, heart pounding. "Evan!" She finds only his jacket by the creek, still warm. Footprints lead into the trees, not human ones. Larger, heavier, deep. She turns toward the party just as the fog bursts outward and the lights stringing the trees snap one by one. The last bulb explodes with a pop, plunging everything into red gloom. Somewhere inside that silence, something exhales, long and wet. Then comes the first low growl. Mara's flashlight flickers, catches a shape between the trunks, too tall, shoulders too wide, breath steaming from a muzzle. The eyes open, twin embers burning in the mist. The beast tilts its head, curious, almost tender. Then its jaw unhinges, and the sound that pours out isn't a roar. It's grief turned inside out, rage with a pulse. She runs. Behind her, the woods come alive with breaking bones and tearing earth, and above it all, the hollow moon smiles, pale and endless, remembering everything it ever owned. The creek keeps its secrets until the moon commands otherwise. The water runs black as coal, and the stones beneath it glow faintly with frost, and somewhere under the surface a thin silver thread starts to hum like wire drawn tight between two nails. Evan is on his hands now, breath coming in bursts, the world narrowing to the taste of iron and the drum of his pulse. His fingers claw at the bank, soil packing under nails already too long, too dark. The first break is small, almost polite, a tick in his wrist as the radius rolls like a snake under skin. Then the second, less a crack than a low grinding churn, as if a millstone were turning inside his chest. His heart staggers, then gallops. The hum inside him widens into a corridor, and something huge begins to walk down it toward the light. Of his teeth. He tries to stand. His knees buckle, eel slick with sweat. He tries to say Mara's name, and a growl climbs out instead, old as winter. His jaw stretches, cartilage whining, the hinge sliding farther than it should, farther still, the skin splitting at the corners of his mouth in a thin red smile. New teeth press up from the gums like white thorns punching through damp cloth. He tastes blood, and it tastes right. The moon lays a red hand on the creek, and the reflection becomes a stranger. Amber eyes, pupils thinning, sclera filmed with a predatory sheen. Hair beads and then erupts, at first like pepper flung across his forearms, then like dandelion seeds finding wind, then like a storm of black bristles pouring out of him as if his body had been hiding a forest. His shirt surrenders in 3 tearing sighs. Buttons skip across stone like fleeing insects. His spine decides it has been a question mark too long. Vertebra by vertebra, it straightens, then arches, then lengthens in a series of wet clicks, each one stealing a human sound and replacing it with the grammar of a beast. Shoulder blades fan and tilt, the sockets blooming open to accept new leverage. He slams his hand in the mud to steady himself, and the palm splits, digits elongating, nails curving into knives. He flexes, the knives approve. His lungs refuse to be small. They balloon to take the night in, ribs yawning wide with audible pops. Breath becomes steam, becomes a ghost escaping him in waves. The cold sinks its teeth. Heat answers from within. Every pore opens its red mouth and sings. There's a moment, only one, where the human boy staggers forward out of the ruin. Evan's face shows blotched and wet, eyes salt bright, as if surfacing from a deep river. "Help," he begins, and the syllable fractures against the next shudder. The monster steps through him like a second skin being pulled over a first. Behind him, the party crouches in the trees, unbelieving. Luke whispers, "It's a mask. It's some kind of suit." A girl squeezes his arm hard enough to hurt. "Then why is he taller now?" she asks, and Luke cannot answer because Evan is still rising. The crown of him crosses the height of men and keeps going until the oaks, old and sure of themselves, seem a little less sure. The smell comes next, the alchemy of copper and fur and wet stone and panic. It moves before the body does, a herald that turns throats dry and bellies thin. The deer in the brush bolt without sound. Every dog in Hollow Bend, even the hushed old ones with white muzzles, goes silent mid-howl, as if reprimanded. The beast tests the ground with a new foot, heel near the creek, pads sensitive enough to read last winter's flood line. Muscles ripple in chain reactions down flank and thigh. The tail is an argument the spine wins. He shakes himself once, shedding the last hanging dregs of cloth and boyhood, and the motion sends a ring of mist lifting from his back like the lid off a pot. He is complete, and he is hungry. He turns his head toward sound, toward breath hitching behind the birch, toward a pulse beating inside Luke's neck, toward the slick whisper of Mara's shoe sole on wet leaves. He knows her, the heat of her, the salt of her, the way her voice braided his name. Recognition cuts through the red for a heartbeat, a thin white line down the center of his vision. His ears flatten, the growl stutters, then the moon pushes harder. It is not a light, but a commandment. It finds the ore in the hill, the silver seam that the old miners woke and speaks through it. The ground answers with a throb. Evan, no, the name is gone, throws his head back and opens his throat and lets the commandment out as a howl. It starts low, a basement note that rumbles the creek-bed stones, then climbs, overtone upon overtone, until the trees seem to lean away. Glass in distant windows ticks in sympathy. The flame on the bonfire bows, guttering before it flares up again in a sudden, frightened reach. The crowd breaks. Terror has a choreography: stumble, stare, choose a direction, run together. It never saves them. They scatter into the brush, tripping on tent lines, clawing at each other. The werewolf, word fits finally like a key in a locked mouth, moves a half step and crosses the distance it takes a human to reason. He hits the first boy with a shoulder, and the boy pinwheels into the ferns, ribs cracking like fallen branches. He catches a second by the back of the jacket, and the jacket comes off in his hand along with skin. The scream is a sheet that tears and keeps tearing. Mara holds because some part of her refuses to relinquish the shape of his face inside that muzzle. "Evan," she says, steady as if taming a horse. The muzzle swings. Her flashlight beam skates across wet teeth, each with a narrow channel down the center like a riverbed built for blood. The eyes, God, the eyes flicker. Human? No. Human-shaped grief. He takes a step toward her, the earth under his heel dense. Her own body answers with a small, treacherous tremor of recognition, like remembering a song by the rhythm of its drum. She does not run. She raises a hand, palm open. A firework explodes from the bonfire, someone's forgotten bottle rocket cooking off, screaming bright and white into the canopy. The wolf flinches, snaps at light, and the instant breaks. He wheels, hurls himself into the nearest cluster of shadows, where three figures try to flee in different directions. He chooses all of them. Bone hits bark, bark loses, the ground learns, new shapes. The night begins taking inventory of the gone. Luke runs, his feet thud into the path that leads back to Main Street, and every step is the loudest sound he's ever made. He makes it 10 strides before the forest grows a shadow with claws. There is a feeling like being opened by a zipper the size of a man. There is a leaf falling into a mouth that can no longer close. There is quiet. Mara only moves when the wolf is busy. She slips along the creek, shoes sinking, body low, breath counted. The moon keeps her honest, every exhale a flag of steam, betraying her. The mist parts for her and closes behind, and she feels it, the weight of the night pressing, the sense that the woods have remembered their original occupation. A hand catches her sleeve. "Please!" Someone sobs, and she almost screams, almost kicks, until she sees the kid can't be more than 15, cat ears askew, mascara smeared. "I can't. My sister." The plea dissolves. "Go to the road," Mara whispers, pushing him toward the dark ribbon where the town still pretends to be safe. "Don't stop." He goes. She watches the small shape vanish and hopes it vanishes into life rather than out of it. The wolf lifts his head, nostrils tasting that hope. He swivels toward her again. He is not rushing now. He has learned her speed. He has measured her breath. He pads along the stones as if walking down the long hall toward a door he's opened 1,000 times in dreams. Water beads on his fur and rolls off in pearls. The creek narrows to a throat where 2 flat rocks lean, and he steps into it without looking, because the night has mapped itself inside him. He is almost upon her when the sheriff's cruiser screams its siren in a ragged burst, and light washes the trees in desperate red-blue. The sound punches the air. The wolf drops his head and snarls, ears tearing back, hackles rising into a black crown. Harker climbs out with his pistol already up. "Hey!" He barks at a thing that does not know commands. The first shot cracks the night, glances from shoulder to nothing. The second streaks past the muzzle. The third, silver, no, cheap town rounds, thrums into a trunk. The wolf blinks at the noise as if the world has flicked him in the eye, and then vanishes between the boles with a speed that makes the siren seem slow. Silence closes like a fist. The smoke from the bonfire drifts sideways, then upward, then not at all. The creek resumes, pretending it has never seen anything. Harker lowers the gun with hands that shouldn't shake but do. "You all right?" he says, but it is a sentence launched too late across a river already risen. Mara doesn't answer. She is staring into the place where the trees have kept a doorway open, and if you listen very carefully you can hear the moon, satisfied, turning the lock. The moon does not watch, it commands. By the time it reaches its zenith, Hollow Bend is no longer a town but a mouth open in a scream. Sirens howl through empty streets. The sheriff's radio mutters fragments, static, broken calls, names that end mid-breath. The bonfire site lies a mile behind them, but its glow still stains the low clouds red, a wound that refuses to close. Harker drives faster, the cruiser fishtailing on wet gravel. "We've got kids out there," he rasps. His deputy, Lynn, stares out the window, knuckles white around the shotgun. "You think it's another bear?" "Bears don't throw trucks," he answers, because one lies on its side in the ditch ahead, wheels still spinning. They stop. The ground steams. The hood of the overturned vehicle is marked with 4 clean furrows, straight through metal to engine block. Blood drips from the mirrors. Somewhere beyond the tree line comes a thud. Then another, rhythmic, like a drum beat muffled by flesh. Lynn steps closer, light trembling. "Sheriff." In the grass, a face stares up, eyes open, mouth locked in a question that never found its words. The head sits cleanly severed, resting upright as if it simply decided to detach and watch the show. "Get back in the car," Harker says, but the night has already decided otherwise. A growl swells from the tree line, deep enough to vibrate the bones in their teeth. The underbrush splits, and the wolf bursts through, no longer the uncertain newborn that crawled from the creek, but the perfected version, fury-wearing skin. Steam pours from its shoulders, its fur glistens as if lacquered with blood. It crosses the road in one impossible bound, landing behind them. Lynn fires blind. Buckshot chews bark. The wolf answers with a swipe that folds the car door inward like foil. The deputy disappears in a flash of red spray. The body hits the pavement 10 feet away in 2 pieces. Harker doesn't run. He empties the revolver until the hammer clicks on emptiness, and still the creature keeps coming. When it stops, muzzle inches from his throat, he stares into its eyes and sees a reflection of himself 20 years younger. Same fear, same failure. The beast inhales him, decides he is not worth the effort, and melts back into the trees, taking the silence with it. Back at the festival grounds, what remains of the crowd moves like ghosts through smoke. The air is thick with that strange sweetness of roasted meat, but nobody can say whose. The carousel creaks, turning once on its own before stopping. Mara staggers among the wreckage, hands slick, vision swimming. Every shadow is a threat. Every breath might be her last. She finds Luke's phone in the dirt, its flashlight still on, screen cracked but playing a final recorded video. For 3 seconds it shows the bonfire, bright, cheerful, and then it tilts upward. The camera catches the moment the moon flares brighter than fire, and a shape, man, then wolf, then both, leaps across the lens. The video ends in static. She drops it, heart hammering. Evan! The name feels wrong now, a relic from before the world broke, a sound behind her, a whimper. She spins. A little girl crawls out from under the collapsed snack stand, face streaked with soot and sugar. "He said he was sorry," the girl whispers, "the man who wasn't a man." Before Mara can move, the girl's gaze slides past her, widening. Mara doesn't turn. She knows the sound of claws on gravel, the wet rhythm of the breathing behind her. A child runs. Mara dives sideways as the wolf slams through the stall, wood exploding into splinters. She rolls, grabs the metal rod of a broken tent frame, and drives it into the creature's flank. It howls, a sound that unravels the air. The rod tears free, as it rears, snapping it in half with one paw. Its head swings low, nose almost touching hers, and for an instant she sees recognition, a flicker of the boy who once held her hand behind the bleachers. Then the eyes bleach gold again, and all that's left is hunger. It could kill her now, but it doesn't. It steps back, turns its head toward the road, as if hearing something older, something calling. With a single leap, it vanishes into the forest, leaving her on her knees, trembling, surrounded by the dead. She looks up. The moon is at its fullest, a molten coin pressed against the sky. Clouds race across it like smoke over a forge. For a heartbeat, the light dims, and she imagines she hears words forming inside the howl that rolls down the hills. "You're next." The church bell rings again, once, twice, thrice, though the church burned decades ago, and Hollow Bend, the town that never truly slept, finally wakes screaming. Harrow Cole has been awake for 30 years. He just didn't open his eyes until tonight. He moves through his farmhouse by feel, 3 steps to the cellar door, one groan in the second hinge, a splinter on the rail that will spear the careless thumb. He doesn't bleed, not yet. He lights the kerosene lamp, and the yellow breath of it opens the dark like an old wound. The trunk waits where it always has. Iron latches, letters burned into the lid. 1887, do not open. He opens it anyway. The smell rises first. Oil, cold iron, tallow, a whisper of ash from another century. He takes the revolver in both hands, not because it's heavy, but because it remembers. 6 rounds lined like teeth. Silver scorched along the seams, each one stamped with a tiny engraved crescent. He thumbs them home. The cylinder clicks a prayer. The first howl lifts the rafters. The second draws dust down in lazy spirals. The third is closer than the fence line. Harrow kills the lamp with a pinch. The dark hums. A knock, not on the door, on the house itself, as if a shoulder has leaned into the siding to test its timber. Then a voice, raw with cold and smoke. "Harrow?" "It's Mara." He opens to the muzzle of the night and the smaller, shaking muzzle of a girl who has seen too much and is still counting. Blood freckles her face. Fear has picked her bones clean and left only tendons of resolve. "He's out there," she says, and the words are a shiver. It's Evan. Her throat works once, refusing to say was. Harrow's eyes soften for the space of a blink. "I know his name," he says. "I know the moon's too. Come on." They leave the road for the deer paths, boots whispering through blue stem and cold fern. Harrow moves with the practiced quiet of a man who's mapped the dark. Mara follows, breath fogging silver ropes behind her. Above them the moon lolls at the lip of the clouds, thick and wet and attentive. Somewhere right of the ridge, a siren gives up the ghost and dies mid-wail. "What is this?" she asks. "Not a story. I want the truth." "The truth is a story you're too close to hear," Harrow says, shouldering aside a curtain of spruce. "But I'll give you what I can." The miners in 87 found a seam that glowed. Lunar ore, they called it. Wore chips of it on strings to guide them in the dark. Then the dogs started birthing litters that howled before they breathed. Men came up with silver nails in their tongues. The bell rang on a night like this one, and the town learned a new calendar. We stood between it and us as long as we could. He pats the holster. "This is what's left of standing. A branch ticks like a metronome. Mara's head snaps toward it. The forest there is thicker, a splice of yew and thorn. Behind it, something breathes with dignity, slow, certain, large. She does not call his name. The thing beyond the hedge already knows it. They reach the old logging road, 2 lanes of mud stitched with puddles that reflect a crazed sky. Harrow crouches, lantern low, tracks stamp the clay, deep, clean ovals with claws scribed ahead. He's not wandering, Harrow murmurs. He's patrolling. Protecting? The word slips out without her consent. Possessing, Harrow says. Headlights bob through the trees. Sheriff Harker's cruiser limping a survivor's gait. It crawls to a stop, grill steaming. Harker climbs out a man who has already seen the shape of his failure and is trying to stand inside it anyway. He takes in Mara, the gun, the age in Harrow's hands. I'm guessing you didn't bring silver for show. I brought it because it's the only language the moon respects, Harrow says. Harker swallows. Lynn's gone. The sentence hangs like a torn flag. Nobody salutes it. From the left, the U-patch exhales and becomes a body. The wolf steps forward without hurry, shoulders working in a rolling economy. He's larger now, fed and certain. His muzzle is wet to the eyes. The 3 humans make a triangle that foolish geometry might call defensible. The wolf calls it dinner. Harrow lifts the revolver. Harker braces his stance. Mara does nothing except look, and in looking remember. The crown of a boy's head, bent over algebra. His laugh in a pickup cab. The way he always left the last fry for her. The memory arrives with claws of its own. Run, it says, or finish it. The wolf doesn't lunge. He strolls. He has learned that terror fattens better when walked to, not run at. He leaves prints that fill with moonlight, each a pale saucer glowing. In the mud, 10 paces, 8, 5. The pack comes with him, silent until it isn't. 2 smaller shapes peel from shadow, half-turned things, the moon's flunkies, all tendon and mistake. Their eyes glitter like dropped dimes. Harker fires first. The shot draws a bright white line in the air that ends in the shoulder. The wolf turns his head, studies the wound with an almost academic curiosity, then shakes it off. Harrow waits for the breath between steps and puts a round square into the chest where, once, a human heart lived. The impact lifts fur. The beast grunts, staggers a fraction, and grins. The pack surges, the world accelerates. Harker rams the cruiser door open as a shield, and a smaller wolf hits it with a clang that shudders the frame. Metal bends, glass powders. Harrow sidesteps a slash that would have unstitched him from hip to throat and answers with the barrel across a snout. Bone pops, teeth skid off into the ditch like lost game pieces. Mara stoops, snatches a road flare from the trunk scatter, scrapes cap to tip. It screams alive, throwing up a red sun that paints every tooth with hell. The big wolf flinches, not from pain, from the memory stitched into that color. Fire in the mine, men with torches, a century of war. Mara takes that flinch and makes a doorway of it. She charges, flare forward, a comet with a heartbeat. She rakes the burning magnesium across his ribs. Fur catches. The smell is a church full of hair smoldering. The sound a cathedral of knives grinding. He answers with a backhand that hits like a truck. The world tilts. She is airborne, then earthbound, the flare spinning off to star the mud with white sparks. The wolf comes for her throat, and Harrow steps into the muzzle, shoving steel past teeth. "You've had your century," he says, and fires. The head whips sideways, a strip of ear goes dark, a howl fails to be born because the mouth is full of smoke. The pack recoils as if yanked by a chain. Harker drags Mara by the jacket, slings her into the passenger seat, blood in his eyes from a cut he can't feel. Harrow fires again into the space. The wolf will be a split breath later, and when that space fills with fur, the round punches deep. The big body falters. The eyes, God help them clear. For a heartbeat, they are the wrong boys. Evan Mara croaks. Something like shame flickers. Then the moon resets the switch. They run. The road buckles under the cruiser's weight, mud coughing from the tires. Claws chase the chassis in a rattling tattoo. Harker jinks hard, fishtails, finds the narrow entrance cut into the hill where the mine's mouth waits like a black lesson. He knows it without looking. Every kid in Hollow Bend knows where not to go. Tonight, they go. They slam through the sagging gate. Harrow is last, backing in, walking his sights, daring the pack to test the threshold. The wolves skid to the lip and stop as if a line has been drawn in something they respect. The air here tastes like batteries and salt. The ore sleeps underfoot, glowing in veins you only see when you forget not to look. Down, Harrow snaps. Deep as you can stomach. He drops the last silver round into the cylinder and closes it with a kiss of metal. The moon is loudest. Here, he says. So is what hates it. They descend, shoes crunching on old ballast, past timbers tarred with a century of fear. Above, the wolves pace the mouth, patient as winter. The mine inhales. The lights from their borrowed headlamps catch a border where stone begins to shine with its own low fever. The deeper they go, the brighter it gets, until the walls seem to pulse with a heartbeat that isn't theirs. Mara touches the rock with her ruined palm. It hums up her bones like a tuning fork. Behind her teeth, something aches to answer. It's singing, she whispers. No, Harrow says, voice small in the long throat of the earth. It's remembering, and from the dark ahead. As if the mine itself has decided to grow a throat, a new howl uncoils, Evan's bigger now, braided with echoes that never stopped. They keep walking toward it. The hill closes over them. The moon, denied their faces for a moment, swells with insult. Above the trees and waits. The tunnel breathes, slow and steady, as though the mountain itself remembers the rhythm of lungs. Each drip of mineral water lands like a second hand on an ancient clock. The three of them descend by the ghost light of their headlamps. Feet, crunching on ballast so old it looks fossilized. Mara keeps touching her arm, where the wolf's claws grazed her. The cuts should sting, but they burn instead, an ember heat that moves beneath the skin. Every few steps she rubs at them, leaving smears of ash and blood that glimmer faintly under the lamps. Harker stops to catch his breath. We've got half a mile before the main shaft, then maybe we can... He doesn't finish. A low, rhythmic thud shakes dust from the rafters. Harrow lifts his revolver, eyes narrowing. He's already in here. The air changes, thicker, metallic, charged. A line of ore along the wall begins to glow, threads of pale silver running like veins. The closer Mara walks, the brighter they pulse. She feels it vibrating in her teeth, a harmony just outside hearing. What is this place? She asks. Harrow doesn't look at her. This is where the moon touched Earth. They reach a cavern wide enough to hold a church. Broken carts rust in heaps. Chains hang like cobwebs from the ceiling. At the center stands an altar of stone, carved with spirals, wolves, crescents, and faces that look disturbingly human. The floor is slick with something that isn't water. Mara's light finds claw marks, hundreds of them, gouged into every surface. He's been here before. He was born here, Harrow mutters. A snarl cuts through the cavern, deep and furious. It echoes off the stone, comes from everywhere at once. The lamps flicker. Shadows elongate, joining at the edges until the room itself seems to move. Then he appears. Evan. No. The creature that carries his name is larger now, fur charred along one side from Harrow's bullet, muzzle dripping, eyes molten gold. His yow chest rises and falls like a bellows. The wound at his shoulder smokes but does not bleed. Mara steps forward despite every nerve screaming at her to stop. Evan, she says, it's me. The beast hesitates. The cavern breathes in with him. His head tilts. For one brief, terrible moment, the human tries to surface. The mouth opens as if to speak. The sound that comes is a broken roar, half word, half agony. Harrow raises the gun. "Get down!" "No." Mara's shout rebounds in the chamber, sharp as metal. "You'll kill what's left of him." What's left is the disease. The wolf's gaze snaps back to them. Recognition dies in the firelight. It launches. Harrow fires once, twice. The shots thunder. Sparks jump from fur. The beast crashes into him, sending both spinning across the floor. The revolver skitters away into darkness. Mara grabs a loose chain and swings it, catching the wolf across the snout. It howls, backhanding her into the stone altar. Pain flashes white. Her vision doubles. She looks down. 3 long scratches burn across her stomach, already steaming, the skin around them blistering silver. Something inside her answers. The heat from the ore rushes through her wounds, racing along her veins. Her breath hitches. Her spine stiffens. She tastes blood and smoke and something sweet, electric. The ground seems to tilt. The sound of her heartbeat fills her head until it's all she can hear. "Mara," Harrow croaks, trying to stand. "Don't let it in." She can't stop it. Her hands curl of their own accord, nails darkening, lengthening. The veins under her skin bulge black, then silver, then vanish under rising fur. She screams, but the scream turns to a snarl halfway out. Her jaw splits. Bones slide like gears, finding new positions. Every joint pops. She feels her ribs expand, the skin rippling as new muscle threads itself through her frame. Hair floods her vision. Her teeth grind against each other, reshaping. The agony becomes a kind of music, a rhythm older than pain. The transformation consumes her in seconds. When she looks up, her eyes are amber mirrors. Her breath smokes in the cold. She can smell everything: Harrow's fear, the wolf's blood, the iron singing in the walls, the moon itself pounding above the mountain. Evan snarls. She snarls back. Their voices braid into one monstrous harmony. They collide. The cavern becomes a cyclone of claws and teeth. Sparks leap from stone with every impact. Harrow limps to cover, dragging himself behind a support beam, watching as 2 forces of lunar rage tear the world apart. Mara slashes quick and precise, leaving burning furrows across the male's chest. He retaliates with brute weight, pinning her to the ground. She bites his neck, tasting the metallic tang of cursed blood. They roll, tearing into the altar, shattering ancient carvings. Dust rains like ash. She hurls him into a wall. He rebounds, roaring. Their howls shake the mind like thunder rolling under the skin of the earth. Harrow drags himself toward his gun, whispering through broken teeth, "Silver for both, if it's mercy they want." But before he can reach it, the ground heaves. The walls pulse with white light, ore veins glowing hot enough to burn. The mountain groans, old timbers snapping. The altar cracks straight down the center, releasing a breath of wind that smells like centuries. Both wolves freeze, turning toward the fissure. Inside the glow is movement, something vast, faceless, made of moonlight and bone dust. The source, a curse. Mara feels it pull her forward like tide. The creature inside her aches to join it. Evan kneels, head bowed, submitting to its call. "No," she growls, forcing words through teeth. "You're not taking us." She lunges, tackling him away from the light. They crash into Harrow. The revolver fires. Once, twice, the silver. Rounds vanish into the glow. The mountain screams, stone collapses, fire blooms, everything falls. The mine screams like a living thing as the old timbers give way. Rock dust billows through the cavern in waves, red and grey, coating everything with a sheen of death. Sparks rain down from fractured ore veins, little meteors caught in the breath of the collapsing mountain. The air is molten with pressure, noise, and the terrible, holy roar of two monsters tearing time apart. Mara crouches low, smoke pouring from her nostrils, every heartbeat a drum of fire in her ribs. Across from her, Evan, the alpha-born of the hollow moon, stalks in a slow circle, claws dragging grooves in stone. His fur burns in places, but he doesn't feel it. He's a cathedral of rage, a cathedral the moon built to worship itself. Harrow reloads the revolver by feel, bleeding from the temple, every motion slow as confession. "You kill one devil," he rasps. The next just grows better teeth. He snaps the cylinder shut, silver glinting like a promise. The howl that follows splits the world. Evan launches all fury and gravity. Mara meets him mid-air, claws out, the impact echoing like thunder trapped underground. They roll through rubble, smashing lanterns, blood misting in hot arcs. She sinks her fangs into his shoulder and feels the pulse of his cursed heart hammer against her tongue. It almost pulls her in, almost, but she rips free, spitting blood that hisses on the ground like acid. Evan grabs her by the throat, lifts, slams her into the rock, the stone spiderwebs. He roars in her face, flecks of fire and spit hitting her fur. For a second she sees the boy behind the beast, the one who smiled under summer light, who kissed her with shaking hands in the back of that rusted truck. Then the moonlight catches his eyes again and the boy dies. She knees him in the gut with a sound like a battering ram. He grunts, stumbles back. She doesn't give him the second breath. She charges, shoulder first, driving him into a support beam. The beam snaps, releasing a cough of coal dust that bursts into flame. The whole tunnel fills with fire. The two beasts howl as one, lit from beneath by burning earth. Above them, the ore veins melt, dripping molten silver. Each drop hits the ground with a hiss, leaving perfect coin-shaped craters that glow white-hot. One lands on Mara's shoulder. The pain sears through her nerves like lightning. She howls, a sound that forces Harrow to his knees, ears bleeding. "End it," he croaks. "End it before the hill comes down on us." He staggers forward, lifts the revolver. Evan's head snaps toward him, a growl the size of the world. Harrow doesn't flinch. "You took my son, boy," he says, steady. "You'll give him back." In fire, he fires. The silver slug punches through the left eye. Evan reels but does not fall. The wound smokes. The silver burns inside the skull, trying to erase what shouldn't exist. He claws at his own face, screaming. An animal sound, a man's voice underneath begging for silence. Mara watches, torn between mercy and survival. Then she sees the mountain ceiling fracture and knows choice is gone. She lunges, claws through his chest, finds the heart still beating like a war drum. She grips it. "I'm sorry," she whispers and tears it out. The body convulses once, twice, and collapses into the fire. The heart turns to ash in her palm. The mind answers with a shudder that feels like applause. The walls heave, ibs of earth, cracking. A shaft beam splits and light pours in from above, the moonlight cold and silver cutting through the inferno. Mara looks up into it, and for an instant she is human again, face streaked with soot and tears. She can see the surface through the breach, the sky swirling with red clouds, the full moon pulsing like a living wound. Harrow grabs her arm. "Move, girl! Now!" They run, half blind, half burned, the fire chasing their heels. The tunnels twist, the floor rising underfoot like an angry sea. Harrow's lungs sound like torn paper. Behind them, the mine collapses in sections, each implosion a coffin nail. They reach a slope where air rushes in, a draft, cold and pure, freedom. Harrow shoves her ahead, coughs up a bloom of blood. "Go. That's an order." "I'm not leaving you," she growls, half-human voice shredded by the beast still caged beneath her ribs. "Orders ain't suggestions," he says and turns back toward the flames. He fires the last round into the dynamite crate by the ore carts. The blast lights the tunnels white. The shockwave throws Mara out through the breach, tumbling into cold grass under a sky alive with cinders. The roar of the explosion becomes the mountain's last breath. For a long while she lies there, smoke curling from her hair, watching embers fall like fiery snow. The ridge glows red, then blackens. The howling stops. She drags herself to her knees. Harrow is gone. Evan is gone. The moon, though, it's still there, impossibly bright, larger than ever. She feels it calling again, not as command now, but as invitation. She looks down, her reflection in a puddle ripples. Human eyes, but behind them a flicker of gold, the beast asleep in the depths, smiling in its dream. The wind shifts. From far below, the town bells begin to ring, though no one alive should be ringing them. Mara stands, silhouetted in smoke, and howls, not in mourning, not in rage, but in promise. The sound carries down the valley like the first line of a new gospel, and high above, the hollow moon listens, patient, expectant. Morning limps into Hollow Bend, pale and hollow-eyed. The fog has weight now. It clings to rooftops like smoke that forgot what it was supposed to burn. The sirens are gone, but their ghosts linger, a single high note that lives in the air and refuses to stop humming. The mine still burns. From miles away, the ridge glows dull red, the fire eating inward. Ash drifts through town like grey snow, settling on porches, mailboxes, the torn carnival banners that flap half-heartedly in the wind. Sheriff Harker sits on the hood of his ruined cruiser, eyes raw from soot. He hasn't slept. Every radio channel spits static. Every phone line is dead. In the early light, he sees things he knows aren't there. People standing in the trees, dogs pacing roofs, the moon still faintly visible even though the sun has already climbed. He tries to tell himself it's over. He knows better. Down by the river, a search team from the next county ferries through the fog. They ask questions no one wants to answer. How many missing? What was that explosion? Is it safe to go up there? Harker gives the only answer that still works. Stay out of the hills. They won't. No one ever does. Mara wakes. At the edge of the forest, body slick with dew and blood, the mountain at her back, the town spread below, like a graveyard pretending to be a home. Her ears ring with the silence left behind when a howl dies. She tries to stand. Her legs tremble, bare and burned. Her skin looks wrong, veins faintly luminous under the dirt. When she breathes, her breath smokes even in daylight. The scratches on her belly are gone, sealed over. But beneath the new skin a shimmer moves, a vein of silver light that crawls and then hides when she notices it. She should feel grief. Instead, she feels hunger. The breeze carries smells she shouldn't. Be able to read. Wood smoke from the diner chimney, rust from the sheriff's badge, blood from somewhere she can't see. Every sound slices through her skull, the whisper of pine needles, the far-off creak of a screen door, a crow snapping bone in its beak. The world is too loud, too sharp, too alive. She staggers down toward town, stealing an old coat from a scarecrow on the edge of a field. Her reflection in the farmhouse window startles her, eyes bright gold in the morning light, pupils narrowed to cuts of coal. She blinks, and they dull to human brown. Almost. At the road she finds the sheriff waiting. He doesn't reach for his gun. He looks at her the way a man looks at weather he can't change. "Anyone else make it?" she asks. He shakes his head. "Just you," she swallows. Then it's not over. No, he stares at the ridge. It never is. He lights a cigarette, coughs once, and leaves her standing in the middle of the road with the ash falling around her. That night the town pretends. They patch windows. They hang blackout curtains so they don't have to see the smoke still curling. From the hills, children are told the fireworks went wrong. Churches fill with candlelight. But Mara knows pretending doesn't work on a place like Hollow Bend. The moon, keeps its promises. When it rises again, pale and ghostly through thin clouds, she feels the itch beneath her skin. She lies on the motel bed she rented under a false name and watches the ceiling paint itself silver. The hum begins behind her ribs, the same hum that once lived in Evan. She closes her eyes and sees him. His face before the curse, the way his smile made the air seem less heavy. She whispers, "I killed you to save you." The hum answers, "You finished what I started." Her hands curl into claws before she realizes. Nails darken, teeth ache. She sits up fast, gasping, but the change stops halfway. Sweat pours down her back. Her reflection in the mirror. Half human, half something that breathes smoke. "Not yet," she tells it. "Not until I choose." The reflection smirks, a fraction of a second before she does. Outside, the town sleeps fitfully. Dogs whimper in their yards. The old church bell rings 3 times, though its tower is nothing but char. The moon climbs higher, burning its hole through the clouds. Mara steps out barefoot onto the street, coat trailing, eyes wide and unblinking. She walks to the center of the crossroads, where the asphalt glows faintly under the moonlight. Every step she takes leaves behind the faint outline of a paw that fades when the next wind passes. At the edge of the woods, something watches her, a silhouette, familiar. Tall, lean, fur torn and matted, one eye gone. Evan, or what's left of him, kneeling in the shadows. Her throat tightens. "You should be dead." He tilts his head. The remaining eye burns gold. His voice crawls out of the dark, half growl, half whisper. "You said that last time." She feels the curse stir, warm and welcome. The silence between them fills with the sound of breathing, the way a tide fills a cave. He steps closer. The moonlight runs down his scars like molten glass. He looks at her the way the moon looks at the earth, possessive, inevitable. "Now," he says, "it's your turn." She doesn't run. She doesn't fight. She smiles, small and sharp. "Then come take it." The wind swells. The lights in the town flicker. Somewhere a window shatters inward. The hollow moon, full again, though the calendar swears it shouldn't be, stares down at its new children and bares its teeth. The moon hangs lower tonight. It's too large, too close, a swollen eye pressed against the veil of the sky. The light doesn't fall on Hollow Bend. It seeps into it, crawling across rooftops, trickling through keyholes, soaking into the soil. Everything that should be asleep wakes up inside the light. By the river, the fog boils. The current churns black and slow, thick with ashes from the mine. The water remembers every name that ever died in it. And tonight, it whispers them back. Mara stands barefoot on the bank, staring at her reflection. Her breath plumes silver in the cold. Behind her ribs, the hum has turned into a drumbeat, steady and insistent. The wound on her stomach glows faintly, a crescent-shaped scar burning with pale fire. The wind picks up. She looks toward the forest, where 2 golden eyes wait between the trees. Evan steps forward. Not entirely man, not entirely beast, something balanced on the blade between. His voice rumbles like distant thunder. "It's not a curse," he says. "It's a continuation." Her voice is barely a whisper. "I don't want this." He circles her slowly, the way a predator measures distance from prey. "You already have it. You carried me out of that fire. You bled into the moonlight. You finished the ritual. The hollow moon needed an heir." Mara backs away until her feet touch the water. The cold bites deep, but it feels cleaner than the air. "You're lying. Look at your shadow." She does. The shape in the water isn't human. It's taller, furred, head tilted toward the stars. When she blinks, it moves on its own, mouth opening into a grin full of teeth. The hum in her chest deepens into a growl. She clutches her head, falling to her knees. "Stop it!" Evan's hand lands on her shoulder. "Don't fight it. The moon chose you because you survived. Because you killed me. Because you loved me enough to do both. The words twist in her ears until they're more howl than sentence. Her vision narrows to a single pulse of light, red bleeding into silver. She feels her skin ripple, bones stretching, the hunger rising behind her teeth like a tide. "Let it out," he whispers. The first tear of skin is a sigh. Her hands reshape into claws that glint like wet steel. The bones in her spine crack one by one, each a drumbeat of surrender. Her jaw unhinges, and when she screams, the sound isn't pain, it's release. Her body explodes into motion, limbs lengthening, fur bursting through skin like smoke through fire. She stands, towering, breath steaming in gusts, eyes now the same molten gold as his. Evan grins. "You see? You were never running from the curse. You were running toward it." Together they throw back their heads and howl. The sound crashes over the valley, shaking window panes, rattling bones in their graves. In the town below, lights flicker and die. Every dog begins to whimper. Every heartbeat quickens, recognizing the ancient rhythm hiding inside it. Harker wakes in his chair to the echo and feels something move behind his sternum, a pulse that doesn't belong to him. He grips his chest and whispers, "God help us." But God stopped listening to Hollow Bend a long time ago. The howl spreads. It rides the wind down the highway, across the fields into the woods, and up into the sky. The clouds break. The moon glows brighter, impossibly bright, casting silver veins through the air like cracks in glass. The reflection of it hits every puddle, every window, every pair of eyes that dares to look. And inside each reflection, a shadow stirs. The transformation begins again. Not just here, but everywhere the moonlight touches. Faces twist, teeth lengthen, people fall to their knees under invisible weight. The hollow moon takes its payment in flesh and sound. Back by the river, Mara stands beside Evan. Her fur ripples under the wind, her muscles hum with terrible power. The hunger feels clean now, holy even. She looks down at her hands and smiles. "What happens now?" she asks. He looks at the horizon, where dawn tries and fails to rise. "Now," he says, "we build a world that howls." They leap together into the forest, two shadows slicing through the fog, and the night swallows them whole. Behind them, the town begins to scream, the first verse of a song that will never end. The camera tilts up. The moon fills the frame. Its surface isn't smooth anymore. It ripples alive, beating in time with the world below. A single voice cuts through the wind, low and cold and certain. When Halloween and the full moon share a sky, the hollow moon remembers, and it multiplies. At Whispering Narratives, we don't tell stories, we survive them. If you made it to the end, subscribe before the next full moon rises. Some stories don't end, they evolve.